it is time to go back in time, back to 2008 for this video. So hello everyone, welcome to this little watch-along live stream where I have a look back at some of my old Workbench videos. And as the description of this video tells you, just seeing how far my modeling's gone since I got back into the hobby in 2007, and talk about some of the projects that I worked on in the past and whatever became of the models that featured in the videos. So sit tight, get a wee drink, a bit of some snacks out there, and I'll warm up the old playlist for this little watch along. Rightio. So people are now coming onto the stream now. Hello. Kirsty. Hello, Kirsty. Good to see you here. Right. Here we go. So, the first video that appeared on my channel was a video about a model railway show that I went to with my friend Casey Jr. But it wasn't really a good quality of video, so I did a few more, but I decided to do like a bit of a kind of a behind the scenes video of a video that we did called QE Who. For those who were were around during then, would have remembered that video and how we never got round to finishing it. So anyway, so this video, Farquhar Sheds Layout, came about, and this was actually the first Workbench video. It wasn't actually called the Workbench video, but it was more or less just me just showing you my layout and what I was currently working on. So the Farquhar station layout came first in 2007, and that was a project that I decided to take on whilst I was getting back into the hobby. And the Sheds extension came about when I visited Peakorama in 2008, mostly to see Christopher Audrey because he was doing a book signing at that time. And I asked him if it was okay if I could actually replicate the sheds, because I didn't know at the time whether or not you were allowed to do that or not. But deep down, I actually kind of thought, well, yeah, maybe I should. Oh, blimey, the editing in this is very bad. So hang on, let's go back again here at the very start here. So I'll just pause it there for right now. Just in case if anybody's asking me any questions here in the live chat here, I can't see the questions right now, so I'll look back at them later on at the end of this video. Okay. So yeah, I had to ask Christopher Audrey for permission if it was okay to replicate the sheds. Now, there never was a sheds layout on the original Farquhar branch, but I just wanted to make sure I was playing safe and so forth. And he was more than happy that I was doing this here, so he wished me the very best of it, and said to me to post videos up on your YouTube channel here, and I'll see if I can watch them when I can. So I don't know whether he does watch them or not here, so that's just something I probably just took to heart, really. So anyway, so this all started then literally after my meeting with Christopher Audrey, and you see is the result. So the baseboards for the sheds extension was not really the best in terms of construction, if I must admit. It was basically just 3 boards. Two of them were identical in thicknesses, whilst the other one was pretty much either too thin or too thick. I can't really remember. Probably about maybe 2 millimeters or 3 millimeters too thick. Yeah, I can't really pinpoint exactly. And the supports underneath it, though, weren't really... they weren't actually applied very well. They were just put on very, very roughly, and so at both ends of the board they actually tended to bow at some point, and had to be very careful when moving this layout to various parts of the room in case it actually snapped in half. But there you go. So following the same method as what I used on the Farquhar layout, I used the Javis Scenic Mat for the ballast, and the reason why I used this was basically just for trying to match Clive Spung's illustrations, because back then before I did properly replicating the original layouts, I was a Railway Series modeler, and I tried to capture the same style as the books. So as you can see, trying to get some proportions right. Some of it is just my own doing, like these bushes not there. There never was any of that there, or this pile of grass here. But even so, it was my own wee layout. As the famous saying in a model railway video I saw some years back, it's my layout and I could jolly well do what I like with it. But later on, as you'll see in these videos here, this layout does change in terms of its scenery, so I did have second thoughts at the end of it. So yeah, this was also my first introduction to Woodland Cynic stuff as well, so I never used their products, so it was a good way to try them out. So the engine sheds are actually made from 3 ratio engine shed kits, and they weren't really put together that well, if I'm honest. Oh yeah, there's Daisy. Wow, that was very short. Very big, quick glimpse that was. Anyway, before we talk about the other models here, I'll just finish off what I'm talking here. So yeah, the engine sheds were very roughly put together. They weren't put together in the best way, so I used super glue to construct these together, and I think I went a bit overboard with some parts of it there, where, as you can see, this section here is cut away, and that was because I made a mistake whilst putting the roofs on. So the roofs had a tendency to break off every now and again, and so I constantly had to try and fix them. And later on, I did manage to get them redone again at some point, but they still weren't exactly how I wanted the sheds to look. So at a later stage, I think just after a few years ago, actually, I decided to sell these models, and fellow Thomas fan Starbug, is it Starbug? Yeah, Starbug Productions bought them. So he's now using them for his videos, and I wish him the very best with them. I hope they serve him well. So anyway, that's those models. And for some reason, this is probably like the early stages of me like recreating branch line engines in some form. Now I don't know why this photograph didn't actually appear up properly. You just get a brief glimpse of Daisy, but there you go. There she is. So this is actually the non-powered section of a Triang DMU that I found whilst a neighbour friend of ours was selling me some model railway stuff, and this was amongst it here. He did say to me that there was a power section somewhere, but he couldn't trace as to whether he picked it up or not. And later on, I did manage to find it a few years afterwards, whilst I was helping him out clear some stuff in his garage, and sure enough, there it was. And I asked him if could I buy it off him, and he says, "Well, look, if you can get that working again, you can have it for free." So there you go. So only the dummy car of Daisy cost a few pounds, whereas the powered version I got for free. So there's a funny story there. So anyway, that was Daisy. Northwestern Brake Fan. Which one was this now? Oh yeah, that was the Graham Farish one. So yeah, I didn't know actually until later on that this was a Graham Farish model. I just found it in the model shop, and I thought, oh, that looks really close to one of the brake fans you see in the books. So I got it. And when I was doing the research on the original models, and when I heard that a Graham Farish brake fan was used, I quickly looked at this one, but found out it was the wrong one. This was the later version, whereas the one that Reverend Audrey has was the earlier die-cast version. So this one's just a plastic version, but it still has the same principles as the original. So I still have this brake fan somewhere about, which I might see about maybe upgrading and repainting it back to, or just repainting it into the original version's colors. So I'll see what I can do with it. It's somewhere in my collection somewhere. And then we have Diesel. Diesel was actually one of the new engines I bought when I started working on my Farquhar layout, and this was based off after seeing Knuckles' video of Troz, episode 5, which actually was at the time my favourite episode. But that's now changed since he's now made a few more episodes since then. And yeah, I think the Gordon one is my favourite now. Anyway. So yeah, this was just a standard British Railway black diesel Class 08 diesel shunter that Bachmann had recently released at the time. And so I got that, removed the British Railway logo by just putting some electrical tape on top of it in case I needed to revert it back to the original. And then I painted the side rods silver. And that was pretty much it. That was diesel. And of course I put the Hornby face on top. And yeah, it looked really, really good. The only problem is that the handrails kept breaking every now and again. I had very difficulty trying to make sure I didn't break any of the handrails, and it was very tricky. Every now and again when I was picking it up, the handrails would sometimes break off a wee bit, and I'm like, didn't want to break it though, but there you go. So that's Diesel, and I still have Diesel actually, to be honest. He's actually, I use him as a spare engine. Now, I don't know at the time if I was the first one to do this or not, but it was actually a friend of ours who arrived at our house one time, and it was when I actually had bought these figures from the model shop, and I was showing them to him, and he says, "Oh, that guy, I like the guy with the bowler hat there." And I says, "Oh, which guy?" I looked at him and I thought, "Oh my god, that actually does look like the Fat Controller in a way. If I change the hat slightly, yeah, that would look like him." So that's what I always use for my Fat Controller figure, and I've made a new one since then, which is on another layout, which you'll probably see later on in these videos. And that was the first video. Yeah, see you for now. That just shows you how I used to talk back then. So, the next video, this was more or less just a update video just to let you guys know what the sheds layout looked like. And of course, with my Workbench videos, I start off by copying the books by adding a forward at the very start of these videos. And yeah, I decided to recreate some of the images. By the way, if you're wondering why the quality is so bad here, I was using an old video camera. I was using this video camera that my mum bought me years back. This is when I first started to get into making videos. She bought me this old video camera for my birthday, and it was one of those ones where you have to have like the wee mini tapes, you know, the wee mini videotapes they had with them. So I had that there. So if I ever wanted to try and find a scene, I had to rewind the tape back and try and find it. I don't know if I still have those tapes. They're somewhere in the attic, I think. Some of them has a few old, some old footage of my old dogs that I used to have. But anyway, so yeah, that was that there. Oh god, you can't even read the text here. It says text said, what did the text say? I think the text said the sheds with carriage shed still in construction. So there you go. So yeah, this carriage shed as well, this also went over to Starbug Productions as well. This was a scratch build model he made using balsa wood and matchsticks, I think. Yeah, balsa wood and matchsticks. And then I had like a corrugated card put on top. Another scene recreating Thomas Comes to Breakfast. Now, this was before I actually got the Built Easy version, where I found out what building kits were used for Farquhar, and for the time being I use this, I think this is a Settlin Carlisle station building. I just chose it because it looked a bit like Farquhar. Couple of nice reshots there. Hackmeck is just a wee halt kit from Wills. Now, the audio I used for the trains moving past, were actually taken from an old record that an animator friend of mine had found, and there was some nice audio clips. So with Thomas and Percy, I actually just used the same audio, overlapping each other. There you go. Oh yeah, you can see my old layout there as well. My very first layout. That later became the Quarry, the Quarry layout, which you'll see later on. It was also during this time as well when I actually had made up Henrietta. Henrietta was actually made from a Tommy toy sitting on a, which one was it? I think it was a tanker wagon chassis at the time, because it was the only wagon I had that was long enough to fit the toy, and it was more or less inspired by the works of Topkasfat, who was a Thomas modeler back then, and he was one of the few people who inspired me to make up videos. So there we go. And of course, here we go. More hints leading up to branch line engines. Oh, look at that. That was bad. That was a bad model, that there. Trust me, the newer versions of this here will look a lot better. Oh yeah, I must actually point out here, Percy's face is actually made from plaster. That's actually a plaster version of Percy's face that I actually sculpted. Back then, it was revealed, like, you know, how you can make different expressions for your models. And so everybody else was trying out, but they were all using resin, whereas I was using plaster of Paris. I don't know why I didn't use resin. I think it's just because I couldn't afford it, or I didn't know exactly what one to get. So plaster of Paris just seems to be the best option for me. So yeah, I just used that instead. And quite a number of my models actually still have traces of plaster around their smoke boxes. But I also used the plaster as well to make up some of the stone loads as well, and it actually did look the part very well indeed. I just basically recasted, made little molds of the coal loads that you get from the Hornby Scale Day range, and filled them with solid plaster and painted them up in stone colours, and it worked a treat. So that was that video. That was pretty much just trying out and see what I can do. And now we move on to the proper Workbench video, as I would call it. Oh yes, this is before I had the Sonic theme played as my intro. I had the Brit Oldcroft one. And this was also the first time I used... Oh god, why did I use so much shadow? I have no idea why I used so much shadow in that title. It gets worse in the next ones. Anyway, this was also the first time I started using the Sonic Boom tune into my videos, and I'll just pause it here for a wee sec. And yeah, it only recently just came across it. I only just got back into watching Sonic, because I used to watch it as a kid, but at the time it didn't really stick well with me for some reason. I don't know why, but later in my early teens, I started to watch it, and I thought, oh, this is a great show. I can relate to this. So anyway, I heard this tune on YouTube and thought it was quite good, so I included it in this video. So anyway, Elsie. Elsie was a model I wanted to try and have a go at making. I first saw her when Farquhar branch first came to Northern Ireland in 2008 at the Cultural Model Railway Show. And although in the video that I'd taken a couple of months before this video was made, I wasn't actually so sure as to how Elsie was made. I could only work off from what information I can gather online, and that was she was made from wood and card. But was it plywood? Was it solid wood? You know, what is it? After many years afterwards, this video was made, I found out exactly what she's made. Well, what she's made from. She's basically just made from a solid block of wood that was carved, and then the planking details were scored onto the wood, and some other panel work was all done using card. So that's basically how it is. And she's mounted on a cut down wagon chassis that used to be readily available back in the day. So anyway. So yeah, I tried to have a go at doing Elsie using the same way, roughly the same way as far as I can gather. And yeah, she was made from balsa wood and card. Balsa wood seemed to be a big friend of mine back then. I used it quite a lot. I always remember buying loads of sheets of it as a kid, and used it to make up all sorts, because I think it was because it just cut very well, and it was light enough for me to work with. But there you go, there's Elsie, and this was what my old Workbench used to look like. You can see my old Hornby Percy. I still have this to this day, and it's still working. Can't believe it. I had that since I was about 6 or 7 years old, and it still works. Still proving its use to me. And yeah, so yeah, anyway, there's Elsie there. Can't remember exactly what buffer beam this is actually from. I think it's from an old triangle model of some sort. No idea. But yeah, Elsie would be later fitted onto this Triang Rovex bogie. Why I decided to use a bogie, I've no idea, but maybe it was because it was the right size for Elsie. But also was that I didn't actually have any plans for anything to be towed behind her, so I kind of had that, seeing as this bogie had only one coupling, I kind of thought, right, this is going to be her. She's going to be acting like a brake van for Toby's Toby's quarry train, so that was that. There was no further needed to have a coupling at both ends. Now, Mavis was also the first locomotive plastic kit that I made up from Dapple. I've never made a Dapple kit in my life here, so Mavis was the first one to be made, and she was simple enough to make. I can't remember if I used. I think I used super glue at the time. I had always used super glue quite a lot with my models. Yeah, I did use super glue because you can see some of the traces of it there. But yeah, I used it quite a lot because I didn't really know exactly about what glues you meant to get for plastic kits, so super glue was the only choice I can go for. But later on I did learn that, yeah, there is solvent glues you can get specifically for plastic kits. But anyway, yeah, Mavis, I just built Mavis exactly as to what the model shows you as it is, but left the wheels out. Side skirts are made from card, and the cow catches are made from cut down Hornby station fencing, because I think I had that good cow catcher look to it. Her stripes, her wasp stripes, I remember having very big difficulty trying to paint those, especially at the back, because I wanted to get the correct number of wasp stripes on her on the back of her, because in Tramway Engines she had a specific number. But everything kept going wrong with it there, and I had to keep sanding back the paint and so forth, and it was rubbing off all the detail. And then my dad came up with the idea of saying, well, why don't you just use electrical tape, black electrical tape, because it'll be a bit more, cleaner, and you don't have to worry about painting. All you have to do is just paint the yellow. So I thought, yeah, that's absolutely fine. Go with that then. And that was that. And in the next video, she would later be powered up. Now, as I said in one of my previous videos there, that the Quarry tramway, my first ever model railway baseboard, was being reused to make it into the Quarry tramway, and this was the working of it. Now, truth be told, I didn't really found this layout to be of any use to me. It was just more or less just a boring add-on. There wasn't really there wasn't anything I could do with it. I couldn't really find any good use for it there. The tracks didn't work all that well. Trains kept stalling all the time, and there was a few derailments here and there. Nothing ever went right on that layout. So, but during the time, I did try my best to try and improve it, try and make things a lot more better. But for like series work in terms like this hill here, it wasn't very good. I didn't really quite like it. You can tell it's just some bits of polystyrene put on top and some foliage on as well. I think it's also the first time I actually found out that polystyrene melts if you spray it with spray paint. I did not know this at the time, so I do remember I spray painted this to try and tone it down a bit, and then suddenly it reacted to the paint, and you just see the hillside literally crumbling and melting away. I thought, oh my god, what happened here? So yeah, the next video after this here, it gets rebuilt. Now, I don't know why I was obsessed with this crossing scene. I don't know why. I just kept thinking I wanted to try and get that scene right. But later on, I did actually manage to get it look good enough, but it still wasn't good to my standards at the time. So, Workbench video number 2. This is also the first video where we have the new logo. Now, in case anybody's wondering exactly what the footage is in the background, it's actually the Farquhar branch at the Model Railway show. So there's two overlapping parts of it there. So you have Thomas in the Fiddle Yards, then you have Thomas entering Farquhar, and then you have like a blue overlay on top. And again, very bad heavy work on the shadow. I really don't know why I actually heavily put so much shadow on my text. I have no idea why. I just thought it looked cool. Now these photographs here, unlike the previous video where I used an old video camera, this was actually taken using an actual digital camera, because I wanted to make sure you actually get to see exactly what was being shown. And yeah, so this was Mavis pretty much complete. And yeah, at the time I thought it looked quite good. Looking back at it now, yeah, my later versions were much more better. But yeah, you can definitely see exactly where I was going with this model. Elsie, yeah, it was alright. It's alright. Not the best model, but what can you do? Yeah, in Railway Series Duck, it was just pretty much just a Hornby duck, just painted the splashes, and that was pretty much it, really. I didn't actually know exactly how I was going to get a new number for him. So I just left it as it was for the time being. And of course, Oliver, I just needed to get him a new number, and that was pretty much it. As well as removing the number on his buffer beam. Ah, improved. Big letters. So yeah, the Quarry did improve. The Quarry branch did improve quite a good bit. Especially this hillside here. It turned out a lot better than I thought it would. Also, this backdrop here, you may have seen in the last video. It's basically a huge sheet of MDF, 4 feet by 8 feet, and that was originally the backdrop for my Farquhar layout that we made up. And so basically, I just painted it with blue emulsion paint, painted on some clouds, and then I spray painted the distant hills, just to try and capture a bit of that old storybook look to it. But I don't know, it didn't really look all that good. You can definitely tell it's spray paint because you can see some of the blotches here and there. Oh well. But I'll tell you this though, it was very heavy to shift. Every time I wanted to try and film a video with it there, it kept on being so heavy to shift out there. Oh yes, I remember I did a video showing how to make these. Yeah, they weren't very good models, to be honest. I know some people have actually taken some inspiration from them, but nice body. Yeah, that was all those left that model. They just cut off the front end, and I was still waiting for the bogey version. But yeah, I heard a lot of people were taking a lot of inspiration from my models of Annie and Clarabelle with the cut down trying coaches. But the only problem I had with those models is that they kept derailing so many times, and I couldn't get the bogies to work properly on them. But I don't know. I think I still have them somewhere, which I don't know. I could probably maybe refurbish them and try and maybe make them into a decent set. I don't know. I'll see what I can do. But I know definitely that that they weren't really good models at the time. But yeah, I think I'll definitely see. I might fish them out and see if I can restore them again and try and make them look a bit more decent than just two cut down coaches just like buzzed together. Anyway, Workbench 3. I actually think Workbench 3 at the time was my favourite because I don't know, it just kind of felt good. And also, it's the last time you hear Sonic Boom being played on the video, because the reason why was because my sister at the time had found out I was making YouTube videos, and she was watching them, and she asked me before I did this video, would you mind, when you're doing your next video, would you mind not putting that song on again, because it's a wee bit annoying if you keep repeating it. So I thought, okay, this will be the last time I play this tune, so I had to make a whole big deal about it. So anyway, as you can see, Farquhar Shed Layout has now improved. You can see some of the greenery has changed slightly. This here, the greenery that was here, has now gone and reverted back to the original Railway Series look. You can also see that some sidings have been dropped as well. Were dropped by one siding, and I think it was more or less down to can't exactly remember why this was so. I think it was because I wanted to have like a run round loop so that when Mavis arrives with the stone trucks, she can run round and then just head back up the quarry and then wait until the empties arrive or whichever. And yeah, that's why I have it as two sidings there. Let's just continue on. Oh yeah, the backdrops as well. I forgot to mention about these here. Yeah, I got these backdrops from Peakorama, same time as I got these sheds. But I never got around to using them here except for now. Now, the Station Master's garden has also had a huge makeover as well because I didn't like the original and thought that the Station Master could do was something better than just having a what's the best way I can describe it? I don't know, probably like a weed driven patch. Anyway, but there's that's how it looks like right now. Now Daisy. Now I finally did manage to get the body, as I mentioned here, that I got from my neighbour, and she was on the way to being made up. That model of Daisy, by the way, in case anybody's wondering as to whatever became of it, I sold it in 2019 to a Thomas fan at one of the Star Tugs exhibits. It was more or less, I just pretty much didn't really, I wanted to make a new version of Daisy and decided to sell that one off, so this Thomas fan approached me. He says, well, I'm actually looking for a Daisy, would it be alright if I can buy it off you? And I says, fair dues. And now they currently own it. So anyway, yeah, so the new version of the Station Master's house, I actually wanted to try and base this off the Clive Spung illustrations because I didn't really know exactly what the Station Master's house properly looks like. So once again, back with the balsa wood, and this at the time was also one of my better versions of scratch building. And as you'll see in the next video here, the model was then sent off to sold off to Starbug Productions, who used it for his videos. I don't know. I don't think I remember seeing it appear in any videos, but hopefully one day. Yes, I actually see my second version of Elsie. That was made from some bits of plastic card and some ratio kits. And that later became unfortunately that model broke during a time, and I used the parts for my current version of Elsie. There you go. There's those coaches I told you about. Again, like I said, I wasn't really too pleased with these coaches, but I'll try and see if I can dig them out and do something with them. But we'll see how we get on. This is where we joke here. The last time you'll hear this song. And yeah, in these videos as well, I kept hinting that work was being made for the second part of QE Who, but truth be told, we never got around to doing it. We never did. We just got bored of it, really, and decided to do Miniature Railway Adventures instead because it was a lot more easy to do. This was also the first time I had the Sylvester McCoy Bang feature. Didn't know about this. But yeah, Workbench Video 4 was not really my favourite out of the lot. I can't remember if this is the one I edited on Pinnacle Studio or not. No, it was one after this, I think I did on Pinnacle Studio. But yeah, if I can remember rightly, the software I used to make these videos, they were more or less made using Unlead Video Studio 9, I think. And it was one of those, it was just a basic software. And oh, hang on. As we joke there, I'll just go back a wee sec here. But yeah, that's software I used. It was one of those basic softwares where you only had like 2 layers to work with a video. So you can only have like 2 video layers, and then you have 2 audio layers, and then have 1 text layer. And that was pretty much it, really. That was all you can work with. And so if I needed to have like a video with many video layers on top, I had to actually save one video, then import it into the software again, try and put the overlay in, and it worked out okay, but it did lower the quality of the video at some during the stage of the making of the video. Now, anyway, this little character here, this is actually my original Sonic character sprite. Because back then everybody was making Sonic characters of themselves. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why they were doing it. There must have been a trend or something going on, and I thought I'd join in as well. So I made my own little sprite of Sonic. But there you go. So that was his only appearance in a video, apart from like an overlay feature. And yeah, this video was also the when I first discovered the Build Easy kits, and this was also when I learned exactly this is what Revenorgy used for his models, for his the buildings on his model layout. I still have these coaches somewhere. Never got around to actually using them though, but someday I might. I do remember those wagons derailed quite a lot every time I used them, but there you go. Right, so as you can see here, I made it getting ready to make the new version of the station the sheds layout, because the original one finally fell apart because the shed that I was storing I had all these in, which was basically an old mobile classroom that we got secondhand. The roof on it wasn't repaired that well, and so there was like a rainwater leakage that was forming in one corner of the shed, and one day it just suddenly just caved in, and unfortunately it caved in right on top of the shed's layout and pretty much destroyed most of the scenery. And I did my very best to try and clean it up and try and restore it again, but it was a losing battle, and by that point the board had started to warp anyway, so I thought, right, I'll just take up all the track, all the buildings, and just throw whatever's left on the bonfire. And I remember seeing it being, I remember watching it just going on the bonfire up in flames, and I thought, yeah, the new one's going to be a lot better. That board gave me such bother many years. It was only 2 years, but anyway. But yeah, the new version, as you'll see in the next video after this here, it started to change greatly. There's my own little drawing of my OC character. Nothing became of him anyway in the end, because I think I just grew out of the matter. Now, Workbench Video 5, I think Workbench Video 5 is actually my favourite, because first of all, we have a new version of the channel ident, and we have some new Sonic music. Now, I can't actually remember exactly what the site was that I got all my Sonic from, because I had like all these very cool remixes as well, and I try to get as much as I try to save as much as I can before I think that site's now closed down now. But it was a great source to try and get hold of some Sonic music and sound effects and that there from the games. So here we have the construction stages of the new versions of the sheds. And this time I made sure that the layout looked better and operated better. Truth be told, it didn't really always work that well, but oh well. But yeah, I heavily made sure that I made it look exactly as it showed in the books, with the exception of where the goods shed is, because the goods shed is actually in the wrong section. It should be right next to the station platform, because there's a bay section of it which I didn't know of. I love these Janus walls that I used. So there we go, there's the Station Master's house again, back in its new spot. And this time around I wanted to make sure the Station Master had a very nice garden, because I always know that he was very proud of his garden. So I had to make sure it looked absolutely good. And so some of the other stuff on this layer was more or less just my own creative knowledge. And I know later on that behind the station master's house there isn't a river, there isn't a ploughed field. It's basically just all roadway, tramway roadway leading up to the laneway crossing. But back then this was just my own initiative, and I think some people actually started to take on board. Maybe this is what's behind Farquhar, and I went for this. I went for this weird nickname that the fans gave me, which was the Farquhar King. To be honest, I don't know why. I don't know why they came up with that name. I to be honest, I actually got a bit embarrassed by it. But yeah, if anybody in the fandom wants to know more about Farquhar or had questions about it, they contacted me because I was making it. I was making more versions of it. Oh yeah, I forgot to show you here that little tugboat here. That's actually it's meant to be a reference to a book series C. Reginald Dalby wrote after his time on the railway series. So that was just a little scratchable tugboat I made from plastic art, I think, or balsa wood. Can't remember exactly here, but yeah, it was a nice wee reference, and I had some kids on the bank as well, fitted with like a radio controlled little remote control on them, so that they were controlling this little boat here. I like the way the water effects as well that I added in made it look as if like this little toy is just whizzing around on this pond. And of course, I was trying more experimenting with the Woodland Scenics scenic materials. Now, this model of Toby, I still have this model, and it still serves as my model of Toby to this day, until I can get around to making up a proper scratch build version of the original. I do have a white metal version of Toby, spare Toby in the works right now. This evening at the model club, I was busy painting it up there. Now, I hated this model of Henrietta. I just didn't like the way the construction went. I know. I think it was because back then I think were 3D printers around back then. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, I knew back then that it was going to cost so much to actually learn to use a 3D printer, and I thought the scratch building was the best way to go. So, but yeah, I didn't like that. Didn't like that model at all. Now I still have this model of Elsie. This was made using Will's plastic card, and I had printed off this this little drawing of the van that she's based off. I can't remember exactly where I got it from. I think it was from an O gauge kit, and I basically just shrunk the drawing down to 00 scale and then printed it off to match my model. And then I just used the Will's kits, not the Will's kits, the Will's plastic card sheet to measure up how many boards it is at the end, and try and match it as best as I possibly can. And I do remember my old friend Henry Blue, if you remember him back in the old days. I remember on the model forums he commented on this build, and he says that this was actually the best version of Elsie he'd ever seen in his life. So yeah, Adam, if you're still watching, if you're watching these videos, thanks very much. I'm still remembering that comment. And yeah, this model still serves as my model of Elsie, and at some point I will make another version, but we'll see how we get on. And I still have this model of George, though his front roller keeps breaking off. So every time I take it to a show, his body is literally just resting on the roller. Because I got tired of gluing it back on. And I still have this model of Mavis. It's somewhere in the storage facility. I think the cow catchers broke off though later on. But I think this is probably one of my favorite versions of Mavis that I've made. Because I was very pleased at how this all went together. The wash striping went together pretty well. I liked the weathered look on the buffer beam, as you see there. Yes, I put pennies in for weight because they were just sitting around doing nothing, and I thought might as well use them, put them to good use. But yeah, and then of course I have the bad news of the Quarry layout being dismantled. Like I said, it didn't work all that well for me. Trains kept stalling, and plus it just didn't look right to me. It just didn't feel like the Quarry tramway to me. It just felt like just a some track with some bits of polystyrene plunked on top of it. But there you go. That was that. That was Workbench Video 5. But yeah, I think that was my favourite one for the time being until I don't think I had a favourite after this one. Can't remember. Now, Workbench Video 6. Was this the one where I introduced my next layout? I think it was. Now, I think this video was made using Pinnacle Studio. I can't remember exactly, but I do remember that Pinnacle Studio kept lowering the quality of my videos. Despite the fact it looked like it had very good high quality footage in the editing stage. But it always rendered, and no matter what I did, no matter what way I tried to export there to make it look high quality, it still came out very low quality. But yeah, in case anyone was wondering where I got these cow catchers from, they were actually from Worsley Works. They had a 3mm kit version of the Class 04s with the tram skirts and cow catchers, and I asked them if it was possible if they could scale it up for me to 00 scale, and they very kindly did that there. But unfortunately, I kept pestering them inquiring as to when they were ready. So back then I was a bit of an impatient little kid. And yeah, I don't like that. I don't like the way I put the wording on her. With my later version of Mavis, I had decals made up, so I think I used that model as a test model for the decals before I put them onto my current version of Mavis. And they work quite well. So I still have that Mavis model, and I'm gonna keep it as a spare model in case anything were to happen. It still puts in a lot of good service for me, so I'm not going to replace or get rid of it. And I still have this coach somewhere around. It's not actually the right model that was used from the original. I did actually find out during the second Audrey extravaganza what that coach originally was, and I managed to get hold of one. So at some point I'll make the Quarry coach, but that's not for a good while yet. Maybe for a rainy day, perhaps. And yeah, I got that City of Turo kit because I just wanted to get a City of Turo kit. Yes, so this was also the same year where I actually started to get into exhibiting my layouts and models at shows. And I have to thank New Controller 01 for giving me the idea. I didn't actually know exactly how you got into doing exhibits for Model Railways Not There, but I managed to get in contact with the Friends of Cultural Model Railway show, and I managed to get a slot booked for my layout to appear at the show. And that was like a last minute addition, but they managed to find me a spot in the middle of the museum, the rail gallery. But anyway, yeah, I decided to make this exhibit version of Farquhar. Reason why? Well, I pretty much made models of the Farquhar branch fleet, so it had to be a Farquhar layout. So it was loosely inspired by Mark II with the extra features of Mark I incorporated in. So it was basically like an exhibit version of Mark I, but with the build appearance of Mark II. Now, the baseboards I just used whatever timber I had left, and the top sheet was just MDF that I got from a skip at the back of my college, which the woodworking department were actually very grateful that this wasted MDF was being put to good use. So they were even kind enough to actually make me this platform. I mean, even though it's too small, as you can see, for Annie and Clarabelle, it was still very nice of them. And then on top, I used fiberboard. Now, this was the reason why I used fiberboard was because my friend Casey Jr. he had just recently got back into model railways, and he had made a new layout, and he used fiberboard on top. And I think he got this idea from another friend of his. And I just liked the look of it there, and so I thought, right, this is what I'm going to use for my layout. So I was also trying out new methods with this build. It was one of the next few times I would use real ballast on my tracks, and I wasn't really that good at laying ballast, but it was the best you can do. I mean, nobody's all that good with laying ballast. I mean, some people have years of practice of laying ballast, but I think I'm still in the early learning stages. Now, the magnets are actually from little fridge magnets that you got from a what do you call them? Those little magnets of letters that you can get in a box, a wee tub from Early Learning Center. And oh, hang on, before I go into those ones here, I just want to finish off. But yeah, I just remember prizing the wee magnets out and then just put them in between the rails once I cut them down to size, and that was what I used for my Sparkwinkle couplings, as well as the Neyman couplings, coupling maneuver as well, which I found out in a Pico model railway video. Now, anyway, this point system, I hated this. I absolutely despise this kit. I don't know who came up with this idea, but this kit definitely needs a rethink if they ever want to continue producing this kit. The problem is that the springs in them are far too strong to work, and that's why I actually resulted in using these blocks, because every time I tried to pull the lever to switch the point, the springs was that strong it broke the lever in half. Every time I tried it here, the lever always broke. And it says in the instructions here, in order for these to work with this spring out there, you have to remove the center locking spring in the points. So all those points out there had to be modified to have their springs removed and have these other springs replace them. And it was just a sheer nightmare to try and get them to be properly set and having power getting over, and until finally one of the strings actually broke, and it happened maybe at I think it was like a few days before my next show, and I had to make a quick rush job of it to try and get it ready. But despite those issues here, I think this section of the layout, the tunnel section, was actually my favourite, because I was very pleased at how this turned out. As you see here, I was very pleased with the scenery on this. And of course, these my early stages, my first and only attempt at trying point rodding or signal rodding. That's just basically some track pins I pinned down and then just ran some cord along them. And yeah, it was also the first time I actually had included a river. Now, the fiberboard was actually, thin enough or thick enough to actually create like a river bank, so I was able to work that in. And then, of course, like with Mark 1, I included the Built Easy kits, because I wanted to include a bit of hack and beck in there somehow. And a neighbour friend of ours made this replacement platform for the layout. So I was very, very grateful for him to do that for me. So this is all Java scatters that I used for the road surface, and I noticed later on when I was taking the layout to shows and out there, I noticed that the grey dye in the sawdust started to wear off, so it now became a sort of like a kind of like a creamy brown much later on. Also in this video, I had this soundtrack called, I think it's called Mars and Stars, and I saw this on a video that Intercity 82 had, and for a while I thought that was quite a cool tune, but now looking back at it there, it sounds very depressing somehow. Yeah, I just didn't really quite like it. So there we have the embankment sections. I do actually remember the backdrop, that you'll see a wee sec here, took quite a long time to paint up because there was so much wee small fine detail bits in the backdrop that I wanted to include, and it just took forever for me to paint it up. And as you can see here, all that there I had to hand paint all myself. And yeah, it was taking so long to paint up there, and I was running out of time, and I thought, right, I need to try and get this finished off. And to make things worse, one evening whilst I was working on this layout, my dog died. She had taken seriously ill one evening when she accidentally ate a few slug pellets. You know those wee pellet things you put on your garden bed to try and stop slugs from attacking your plants. She accidentally ate a few of those, and she succumbed to the poison. And I remember I was very heartbroken because I was very fond of her, and so as tribute to her, I included this little model of a border collie in the Three Beatles. And that was just to remember her by. And that little border collie model, that's still on my Farquhar layout. Not on this one though, but it's actually on my current version. And she's acting as Mr. Troutzer's sheepdog. So yeah, it's nice to have a wee bit of a memory of your old pets and that there from way back. But yeah, that was Workbench video 6, and number 7 sees, I think, the completed stages of the exhibit layout and its first show. And also, we have a new theme with special permission from T-Loops, who does, I think he does all the Sonic music now. So that was quite cool. Very nice of him to let me use it. Now, I do remember this was edited using Pinnacle Studio, and you can definitely see how bad the quality is. I know definitely that in the editing stages, this was all this text was a lot more higher quality, and these pictures as well. But Pinnacle Studio absolutely trashed it during the exporting. So anyway, this is the layout now. That's the layout now finished off and ready for its first show. Like I said, there are some sections of it there I did like this section here of the tunnel, but I don't like that backdrop. I never really liked that backdrop. And the fiddle yard was just more or less just me plonking the trains on the tracks ready to go on. By the way, if you hear any barking in the background here, it's just May, because I think she's hearing me talking and she thinks it's probably some intruder. Anyway, yeah, these photographs are of the layout during its show, its first ever show. I think I took it to various events, I think 3 times, three events in its entire lifetime. So yeah, it went to Culture twice, and then it went to Drumaway Junction for an AGM gathering. And yeah, that was pretty much it. And now it sits in my attic. Now, this model has a funny story to it, because at the same time when I announced I was making a Reverend Audrey version of Thomas using this model, Sparkshot contacted me and he says, "Hey, I've actually bought 2 kits of this model as well. How about we have a competition to see who can get their model finished off first?" So I thought, okay, what's the prize? And he thought, well, we can decide that later on, maybe a wagon or something. And I thought, okay, fair dues. And so I set to work on making my model Thomas. And you can see there in the bunker, I had marked out as to where I was going to cut away the white metal in order to straighten the rear buffer beam. But I don't know, I think somebody recommended me just to leave it as it was, because it kind of made it look a bit more prototypical. So I thought, okay, I'll leave it as it is. So I kept the side tanks on, but removed the splashers because they looked a bit silly. And then I went about to painting it up. Now I used Revel paints because I thought they were quite nice, and I can't remember exactly the tin code for this one here, but I think it was just listed as light blue, and I thought that was quite a nice Railway Series look for Thomas. And that was him. The lining was all done by masking. And I think the number 1 is painted on, I think. But yeah, anyway, just go back here again real quick. But yeah, it turned out I was the first one to finish their model first, and because Sparkshot was still trying to get his kit to be made to how he wanted to be made. But then later gave up on it there because the white metal was very hard for him to work with, and he decided to try something different. And later on, he did his 3D printing. So that was pretty cool. Now, this modifying Bachmann model, this was heavily inspired by a model I saw that Henry Blue did many years back on Model Train Form. And it's a very simple modification. Just basically cut off the slope buffer beam and add an extra bit of plastic card, and that's pretty much it, really. I decided to remove the buffers because I thought the Bachmann ones, the sprung Bachmann ones, would be a lot more better. So I used that instead. And the model proved to be quite a nice remodel to have. I still have it, but don't use it that much. But I might probably take it out and might maybe give it an upgrade, perhaps. See what way I can go with that model, and see if there's a way I can maybe make that as a spare model for Thomas, just in case anything goes wrong, or maybe I could buy a 3D printed version of his Railway Series model, like the early early illustrated version. That was actually something I wanted to do for a while, so I'll see if I can fish it out and maybe use it. Who knows? In case anybody's wondering where his number 1 came from, it's actually from a series of stickers I got from a stationery shop. It looks okay, but I think it's a bit weird. It's a bit silly, really, to be honest. But I might see about getting a better decal for it, I suppose. And yeah, I was so thrilled that Bachmann decided to make a Henrietta model, and I just found it to be a great relief. So I was finally able to get a proper Henrietta model on my layout, even though it was a TV series replica version. But what could I do? But I've now since got like a proper Henrietta model from a 3D print shop online, and yeah. Now I think I still have this milk fan model. It's in a box somewhere, but it never turned out very well in the end, and it was not my best at scratch building wagons. But I do have a better version of this fan later on, which you'll probably see in the next video. Oh, my throat's dry. Anyway, yeah, so that just sits on a standard Hornby chassis, and that was that, really. Didn't have anything else to do on it, apart from painted it up and add a roof and all that there, but yeah, I didn't really, I don't know, it just wasn't really my favourite model, to be honest. I think I still have it somewhere, and if somebody wants it there, I could sell it for like £1 or so, because it's no longer of any use to me now. I'll have to see if I still have it, though, to be honest, in case anybody does want it. So let's see, which of these models did make up in the end? Annie and Clarabelle Mark II, well, you'll see them in the next video. Percy, the real Percy, well, that has a story of its own, but maybe for another time, perhaps. Duck, the Great Western Engine, I never did actually get around to making one, though I do have a Gaty model, which I'm going to be using for Duck in future for future layout operations. But yeah, just shows you what I used to do back then. And I do remember back then I actually wanted to try and help people, like if they ever wanted to try and make up models of the characters or the rolling stock, because at the time I think I was still trying to learn new things as well, and just thought it'd be of any use to people. I'm still still giving advice to people when it comes to making up various stuff. Now, this was the first video. This is the first Workbench video. You can tell from the quality of this here. This was the first Workbench video made using an Apple Mac computer. So I recently got a new Apple Mac computer for Christmas one year, and it had iMovie installed on it there. So I used that to make this video, and it was it was so much better than Pinnacle, way better than Pinnacle. But later in this year, I actually upgraded from iMovie to Final Cut Pro, which I still use to this day. And Final Cut Pro was I first used in 2012 for an animation project, and I thought it was quite good. Now, I don't really like these bodies on this model on these models of any Clarabelle. Oh my god, the photographs are terrible. I must apologize for the quality of the photographs, because I think I used my old video camera at the time. The photo quality I got on my video camera was not that good, so I think later in this year I did get a proper DSLR camera, which I have much more better photographs at a later stage. But yeah, I apologize for these. But yeah, I didn't really quite like these versions of Annie Clarabelle. I try my best to make them look as good as I possibly could, but the bodies just looked terrible. So during this year I actually rebuilt these. I just remembered now. Yeah, it was during that year I actually rebuilt these models. So I basically took the bodies off, kept the wagon bogie, and just rebuilt the bodies from plywood. And I still have those models to this day. They're currently what I'm using for my current models of Annie and Clarabelle. Though at the moment I am thinking about replacing them at some point, because they are now starting to show their age. But yeah, they were way better than those awful coaches. Now, this Percy model, it went through many rebuilds, many rebuilds, and right now it's going through how many rebuilds is it now? So this was the first one here. So let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 5th rebuild, I think. All 4 attempts were all done using scratch building and kit parts and all that there, and parts from other models I had just sitting around in boxes doing nothing, or ones I got at car boot sales or eBay. And I tried to buzz them together to try and make them look like this model of Percy you see in the photograph here, because this film was that photograph was sent to me by, I think it was a Telegram member called Malcolm. I can't remember his second name, but anyway, he sent me that picture to use as reference. So that was the only the only photograph of Percy I had to work off. But yeah, it still didn't look right. Even after this here, I still thought it could have been made better. But I just didn't have time. This was literally made after, or not literally made before I went to my next model show. But right now the model is now being fitted with a brand new 3D printed body, which is sitting on top of the backman footplate, and it looks a lot more better. So the model's going for it's just going to have another modification made onto it to make it look a bit more closer to the model, and that's it. I'm not going to do any more to that model. That's the last time I'm going to make that model Percy. And sorry, I forgot to actually talk about this milk van. I still have this model. This was actually made specifically for me by a good friend of mine who I made friends with at a Meds Railway Club, and he actually makes wagon kits as part of his part-time job. And he very kindly scratch built this milk van for me. So I was very, very pleased with the results, and he presented it to me on the night before my first on I was there. He presented it to me on one of my model railway shows the night before I was about to start my model show. But yeah, this was also the Workbench Video 8. That was the last of the Workbench videos. Well, the original ones anyway. And the ones that follow on afterwards, the two that follow on here afterwards, here we have the 3-hour one where I cover the building stages of Thomas Mark III, the E2 version of Thomas, and then this one with the flags. That was just one I made very quickly because I just wanted to make a Workbench video of something, and I thought just making up some railway flags would be enough to fill that gap, but. But yeah, that was the last. I kind of consider that to be like the last of the original Workbench videos before I left that chapter and decided to move on to a new chapter in 2015. So 2015 was the last time you see me modeling railway series. And since then, I've been working on replicating the original models of Rev and Audrey. And to this day, I'm still doing that. At times I would want to maybe do railway series modelling, but nowadays, if I want to do railway series modelling, it's only for my film Branchline Engines, and yeah, that's the only time I ever reverted back to doing railway series modelling. But I prefer doing replicas of Rev and Audrey things because I get more fun out of it, really, because there's a lot of history about the models, and I like doing the research and finding out all the info and doing my little treasure hunt, as I called it. I remember saying this to Tim Dunn on the Audio Extravaganza live stream. I like to make up this little treasure hunt where I can try and find the original models and see if it's possible to get hold of one to make it into this model. But there you go. That's all the original Workbench videos. So, gonna stop sharing this now here. And well, there's been a lot of comments here. Okay, let's go through all the comments now so far. So we have a lot of little hellos. What's this one here? From Sodor Train 1225. Hello, listen to your SoundCloud story about Tom Tipper and Leslie earlier, and it's quite good. Thank you very much. In case anybody doesn't know, I have actually I wrote a few Thomas stories just out of sheer boredom, really, and made them into audiobooks, which I put onto my SoundCloud. So, yeah, they were just ones of just ideas that I just had at the time, and I just thought, why not? But yeah, I think I'm gonna put a stop now of doing some writing Thomas stuff now because it's getting quite tired of it now. Probably not gonna revert back. Might do some more work on miniature railway adventures, I think, because it badly needs focusing. Let's see. We've got a few ones here. We've got a few here from the DTS workshops. He's had a few comments there. A couple of these are all just mostly just saying either hellos and talks here. Oh, hello. Here's a good one here from Stephanie Tanker. Did you run some of your models at the Audio Extravaganza? At the first one, I brought Thomas and Annie and Clarabelle with me because I wanted to know exactly what size the original ones were, because I wanted to know whether I got the size right or not. And it turns out I have got them right, so that was quite good. The only problem is that the bodyworks were a bit different though, so I had to make sure. I think in later stages I'll have to try and see about making up some new versions of the bodies for the model, or pretty much just remake the models entirely. I've recently bought a laser cutter and laser engraver, so I'm gonna have a wee practice and see if I can make laser cut versions of the bodies and see where that gets me. If it doesn't work, then I'll just try something else and see what happens. But yeah, I didn't actually run any of my models on the layout because I didn't really feel like I didn't really felt it was right because it's an old layout. It is an old layout here, but very lovingly cared for. I have to actually point this out here. The Tallaght Railway cares so much for the Reverend OG's original layout, and if anything goes wrong on the layout, there's a really good special team that actually have done quite a lot of research on how to fix these original parts and how to restore them back to working order. So I have to congratulate them of their skills in order to do this here. In fact, one of them was also the ones that actually helped restore Mid Sodor to working order because it wasn't working before the Audrey Extravaganza, and these guys managed to get it working again because all the bits that were missing for it were actually in the study. So they were able to bring it back to life again. But yeah, I never ran my models on my layout. Just didn't feel it was just didn't think it felt right for some reason. So let's see now. We have GL Productions. I made my E.T. Thomas using the guides from your 10th anniversary. Thanks for your help. Thank you very much. I'm glad I was of great use to it. But yeah, I've been planning that 10-year anniversary video for a while whilst I was at university because university really damaged me mentally because I was going through so much stress with the sheer amount of workload. I had stuff happening at home that was giving me troubles, and there were times where I had to cut off access to friends, or like sometimes I would contact friends, or friends would contact me if they wanted to chat here, but I would only talk to them for only like maybe about a half an hour or so, but because I would be so deep in coursework that I wouldn't have time to talk to them. And even if I did, it would be a different version of me talking back to them because back in my university days, it just changed me personally. Like, but yeah, when I graduated university, I did recover back to my old form, and during this, I did start planning my 10-year anniversary video, and during all my breaks out there, when I had no work to do at all, I did what I can with doing like researching on my Reverend Audrey model work, and looked forward to the day when I could actually run stuff on Farquhar Mark 1 again, because that layer was actually in storage. Actually, we had it in a shipping container that we borrowed whilst my workshop was being rebuilt somewhere else. So I didn't have access to Farquhar for about a year, which was gut-wrenching. But anyway, yeah, I'm glad that video helped you out. Okay, SB Track Tales. What was it like looking back on all this old model work and looking back to where you started online? Yeah, I mean, it's shocking, like, what I used to do, like, years back. It was, like I said, I was still trying to learn new stuff in the hobby and trying out different things and seeing what worked for me and what I thought would be the best method to stick to. And I think the method I have now, I kind of like sticking with that when it comes to building layouts. And like in terms of, for example, with scenery work, I actually found the use of hanging basket liner for wildgrass to be a huge time saver. Seriously, if you want to have like a huge wide spread of grass, and you can't afford a static grass applicator, or don't have enough materials, not enough seed scatters to spread the area, go out to your garden center and buy those rolls of hanging basket liner. Seriously, it will definitely save you a lot of time and money. But yeah, I've been using that method like for all my layouts now, including this replica of the Northwestern Railway. But there you go. Sorry I can't pronounce your username here. Very, very sorry here, but your question is, if you could name one thing if you could tell your past self when you first started modeling, what would it be? God, what would it be? What would I tell him? Right. What I would say is you're gonna have the best future, one of the best parts of your future when you get into your when you get into your 20s. You're gonna experience something really good when you actually when you go to Wales. And that experience was I actually finally got the chance to operate Farquhar, the original Farquhar layout. And I'm also like one of the few people who actually helped restore some of the original models. Um, when I mean restore, I mean kind of like did service work on them. So I kind of restored them back to working order again. Because the trying motors had these wee magnets on them, and they were wearing out uh, after many years. And if you don't change them, they could probably easily burn out the model, like burn out the motors. So the Telecom Railway were trying to see if they can find a way to try and recharge these magnets back to their original factory setting. And I had this remagnetizer tool that a fellow railway modder called Ronald Dodd had made. And so the Telecom Railway contacted me and asked me, what next time I'm coming over for the Ultra Extravaganza, would you be able to help recharge the models, recharge the motors? And I did that. And I tested the first one I restored was the Ginty version of Thomas. And boy, was that magnet very weak. It was so weak. And when I recharged it again back to its original factory settings, it was the best running model that we had at the show during the exhibit. So whenever you see the Ginty Thomas running, that was me that actually helped restore it back to working order again. I mean, I know last year, last year at the extravaganza, we did try the Ginty Thomas, but like I said, it was very weak at some point. It didn't really run that well. But yeah, when I recharged its motor again, it brought it back to life again. So yeah, I actually do feel very chuffed about that. So yeah, that's probably what I would tell my past self. I'll just say you're gonna have one heck of a future when you're visiting Wales. But there you go. Sample MC. Thanks very much for making your 75th anniversary showcase of your models. You finally inspired me to get back into building my own replicas. Well, I've seen his replicas, and I'm actually really impressed of what you've done. Actually, you've actually made some models that even I haven't actually got around to making up yet. um, I think, let me see it. I think your recent model of Toby, I'm very impressed with. It looks so much like the original, and I mean that generally. It actually does look 100 times better than even my attempt. So yeah, I think you did a very good job on your model. And yeah, and I wish you very luck with any other models you're looking to make up in the future. So, and if you need any help, just give me a shout, and I'm more than happy to help out. Okay, what's this one here? Will the faces in branch lines be 3D printed or modelled from clay, or do you have another method in mind? The face is going to be 3D printed, but I'm not going to talk more about branch lines because I don't want to give any spoilers as to what's in store for it. All I will say is that last week some footage has been filmed and gone through editing stages. So that's all I'll say so far. But another set for branch lines is going to be planned to be made up and filmed maybe next week. But I can't promise anything just yet. All I can say is that the set that was filmed before, it was one of the ones I was actually dreading to make because of what it included. But I will not say any more. So all I need to know now is the hard bit is now done. All the rest of it is now easy to do. So, yeah. Right, I don't think I can actually answer this one properly. Well, I'll answer this one here, but yeah, I don't want to answer any more questions regarding to my work on the TV series because I think I'd like to close that chapter of working. But what I'll say is I did enjoy working on the show. It was good fun. I had good fun making new friends and so forth. But now I'm moving on to other stuff now. But yeah, I just want to close that chapter for now. But yeah, what episode that you wrote for Bobo that you were most proud of the most? It will have to be Great Little Railway Show because I helped the team with research of what to include for like the railway show, like in terms of what layout should be featured at the show, and also it was also me trying to get the original Percy to be seen in a form of media rather than in the books or in like the. Actually, was the original Percy featured in any book material? I know it was in one book somewhere, but yeah, for a chance to actually show the original version of Percy, what Red Roger originally wanted Percy to look like, I really wanted that to be shown. And I remember having talks with Sam Wilkinson, making sure that we have everything right with the model that's going to be shown in the episode. And yeah, what you see is what we managed to get in the end. So I was very pleased with the result. Very pleased indeed. So that was the closest we were ever get to try and see the original Percy in Thomas Media. So yeah, very pleased with that. That's probably the only episode I was quite proud of. But I think the Royal Engine was also quite a hard one to get through. So because that was my first ever special. But yeah, Great Little Railway Show takes that place as episode I was most proud of. Is it still possible to make a Railway Series Percy model using the Bachman Percy? Because I think I can do a better job. Well, if you can do a better job of it there, you're more welcome to try out. But I think I'm going to leave modelling Percy to the experts now. Once I finish this recent version of Percy, that's it. I'm not going to do any more because he is such a hard model to make. In fact, I actually do remember during the last extravaganza, whilst I was operating the original Farquhar, I picked up the original Percy, getting him ready for his appearance on this operation schedule, and I just looked at him. I just muttered to myself. I just says, "You have caused me so many years of confusion and treachery trying to replicate you. Hopefully my recent version will be the end of it." And that was that. But yeah, I don't think I'll be doing any more modelling of Percy's for a good while. I am doing a spare Percy though, but that'll be just for a spare model, to be honest. Right, I'm gonna make this the last question now here. So this is from Gannon's post. How many models would you say you have modelled? Or would you say you have made? I have lost count. So what you see in the Workbench videos is actually pretty much all that I've made. Models I'm making right now, I've kind of lost count exactly as to how many I've made. Because I'll probably have to do another showcase video at some point. Once I have all the engine models I have made now, I'll try and see if I can get around to maybe making another showcase video and just showing you where things have taken off since then. But yeah, I really don't know. I actually don't know how many models I've made. You'll just have to do some research then. Maybe look back at some of my old videos and see. Yeah, so that's pretty much it really here. So I'm gonna have to sign off now here because it's getting quite late now and had a very busy day. I'd finished some work today, which I was very proud of. I was very pleased to actually be part of and look forward to seeing the results of it. But anyway, just want to say thank you very much, all, for tuning into this little live stream and to see my little reactions of my old Workbench videos. It's a good blast from the past, and what I will say is that the Workbench videos will return. I do have plans for a new one that I want to make. Before I do any like modelless corner stuff out there or anything branch lines and stuff, I want to do another Workbench video. And this time I'm going to do on a subject which not many people have actually done a coverage of. I did do a brief introduction as to how it's done in my 10-year anniversary video, but this time around I'm going to do a proper version. Just need to make sure that this recent attempt goes well with one of my models I'm currently working on right now. So once I found out exactly how everything can go together, I'll do a video coverage of it. Okay guys, I'll see you guys soon. Thanks very much again for tuning in, and